I want to move on to a topic. We've been talking a lot about marijuana and legalization in many states, but in a surprising bit of news this week, it was announced that Denver will become the first city to allow people to use marijuana in certain bars, restaurants, and other spaces. I will admit, we were reading about this, it's very confusing, but voters approved a proposition that says Mile High City businesses and spaces may be able to get a license for marijuana use. They would first have to get approval from their neighbors. And there are a lot of elements of it that are a bit confusing. It doesn't sound like you would be able to smoke it inside or maybe potentially anywhere, but it raises a lot of interesting issues. This vote was so close.
So close that it took weeks to count it, right?
It took, a full week before the proponents and supporters were able to claim victory. Really a heated debate because, look, it's a heated debate whether or not to legalize marijuana, obviously. But this really is taking it to the next level if you're going to start allowing it in public spaces.
And we're going to start seeing more of this as marijuana gets legalized in certain states for recreational use. There are so many little nuances that have to be addressed, like how much can you have in your possession, what can you grow at home, and now, well, if you're in a bar, can you use it? So, I mean, this is a whole new concept.
What are your thoughts, personally? I'm curious. Didn't know I was going to put you on the spot, did you?
I mean, a little weed oil martini has a certain, has a certain panache to it, but you know, it's a slippery slope because it's mixing things that maybe haven't been tried before, and people may not have combined the two, and you're going to get people are going to have potentially reactions. They're definitely going to get more high, and then that's a whole issue about driving and
to clarify, patrons would need to bring their own marijuana. I will say the reason that, look, there is a reason why bars and restaurants would want this law to pass because, well, also marijuana is an appetite stimulant.
They're going to get the munchies.
You talk about
bring it on.
Away. I will say this. I have been a proponent. I do not think marijuana should be illegal, okay? Having said that, I also do not believe that marijuana should become ubiquitous. I still remember as a child.
Does that mean like everywhere?
It means like everywhere, buddy. Okay. But I distinctly remember as a child going and watching a fireworks display in downtown St. Louis, and the people right next to us were, I didn't know what it was at the time, but they were smoking marijuana. And as a kid, it was an incredibly powerful smell, and I remember I felt sick afterwards.
It was
really strong, and that's my only concern with all this is it gets back to if this ever got to a place where people are smoking, it's secondhand smoke no matter what kind of smoke you're talking about. You got kids, you have to be very, very careful. And with this, it's very confusing, and I think maybe it needs to be confusing right now as this all plays out, but I just don't want it to be at a place where you're hopping on, you know, well, it would never probably happen on public transportation, but I just don't love the idea if everyone everywhere is just smoking marijuana.
Well, I think we're going to see it. It's just a matter of time that the cigar bar surge that we saw, I think we're going to have the weed bar surge, and
which would be okay.
And along with that, and I hope that when people are there, that there's the patrons there or the people that run it are going to watch out for people's well-being to make sure that they're not leaving intoxicated, getting in a car, etc.
And maybe that's why now it has to be a bit confusing. I can see, like you said, evolution over time. You know, now there are even places where smoking is prohibited, usually there's an area where smoking is allowed. You mentioned cigar bars, and maybe it will evolve to a place where, okay, well, here's your neighborhood cigar bar, here's your neighborhood marijuana bar? I don't know what you would call it.
No, it's different. You know, here in California, it's sometimes, you know, I'm not a marijuana user, really, but it's not illegal. You know, think about it, that it's kind of crazy.
It is kind of ironic that it is called the Mile High City. High.
We have parts of California that are mile high, too.